for the shading?
Not just yet. Okay, I'm going to get rid of these. I'm going to do that again because now we're recording it. Okay, so as a refresher, hello, class from the future. What we've got here is a flat image with one character on the left and another character on the right. Each character is broken into a different mood by two characteristics. The guy on the right, mysterious and greedy. The guy on the left, brave and harmonious. And having watched the lecture, we're going to use lighting to enhance these terms and to better suggest who these characters are. And we're going to do that with a simple cell shading technique. Obviously, there's lots of other ways, but this is the simplest. We're going to create two layers. The first layer will be called Character 1, Highlight 1. The second layer will be called Character 1, Shadow 1. On the black layer for shadow, we are going to draw black. So, for example, I'm going to suggest that perhaps the lighting is coming strongly from this side. And it's going to be coming from the back of the character over here. So a nice strong side light and a little bit of backlighting on this side. So with that in mind, with the shadow layer selected, I'm going to start to draw. So we said there's a strong shadow coming from this side here. That means all of the interior of this section is going to be in shadow. The muscles on this side of the body are going to be in shadow, probably a little bit of the underside there. This is going to be in shadow. Again, keep thinking about where the lighting is coming from. This is probably going to be lit. And remember, we've got a kind of backlit shadow over there. So maybe we've got a touch of lighting just cascading across the body, which is going to create, and I'm just going to do this quick so we can get through, as much as we possibly can. So again, we're thinking about the light coming from over here, and we're thinking about the strong light coming from the right. And we keep adding shadows in conjunction with what we're thinking on all of this, like so. And then what we do is we select the shadow layer, and we want to change the drop down to soft light. And what you'll see is that this gives us a darker tone of the color that sits beneath, which is the skin tone of our chosen final character from the swatch sheet. And what we would do is we would continue to add to this, bearing in mind the direction of the lights. So the shadow from the right here, maybe this is bumped, but it's going to pick up on, some of this here. And because this section is raised, it's going to start getting a little bit from the back over here as well, like this. And it's going to look something like that. So that's the shadow. We'll just focus on this one area for now. On the highlight, we do pretty much the same thing. So this is going to be well lit from here. Maybe some suggestions over here. This area of musculature. Let's add some shadows here. Sorry, some highlights here and here. And on the right, maybe a touch there and there. We'll brighten this up here, maybe a little bit here, and same on the right, here and here. Now, when we set this to soft light, it is too bright. The white is too bright, so we need to drop the opacity to around 40% or 50%. It's up to you. But you can see that slowly we start to form an area of highlight and shadow. And I am going to continue to do this, but what I'll do for expediency's sake is I'm going to draw in the outline for what we've got kind of going on here. So the arm is going to cover this part of the body. So we want to delve this into shadow. How about the back? Well, the back has a cloak. So if there is any highlight, it's going to be pretty narrow. I'm going to say there's actually no highlights in this whole area here. So I am going to restrain it to this area. But as the arm comes down, we're going to start to see some highlights back here, like this. And the arm, I'm going to say the arm is close to the body, so the arm is going to have a part of a shadow drifting up the body here as well. Same with the armor. So we have the armor here. I'm going to put this side of the armor in shadow with a little bit on the right, not in shadow. I'm going to have this side of the wood in shadow. And then let me just do a quick fill for this so we can get a general idea for what we're looking at. So all of this stuff here is in shadow. Now, hopefully we can start to feel the shadow that we've got kind of coming from this side a little. You know, if we look at this area, we can kind of see some shadow popping in, hopefully. So with that done, let's add just a couple of highlights for the metal here, maybe some for the wood back here. Now this area is fully open, so you're going to get kind of less shadow around it there. I'm going to add maybe a little highlight to that, but not much. Some highlight down the outside of the cape here. As it kind of curves, as it curves here, I'm going to stop lighting it on the right, because that's kind of curved out of the light. And this is the goal. So we choose lighting directions, and we want to think as much as we possibly can about how we can best capture and convey this with the lighting of our character. And that's the goal, essentially. And, you know, before too long, we'll hopefully be able to see, you know, what we're going for, essentially. So let me just continue this a little more. So up here, I said this was backlit. So that means we're going to have, you know, like a semblance of shadow back here, but it is going to be kind of blocked by the shield. So it's not going to go the whole way down. So we're going to have something that looks kind of like this. Let me use a big brush just to block it out. So this area is kind of shadowed. This side of the character is shadowed because that backlight is not getting through the shield whatsoever. But remember, we have a light coming in from the left. So if we can see like a part of this arm here like that, then it's going to cast the shadow under here. All of this side is going to be shadowed if we can see that. Like so. Or maybe we want it a little more shadowed. You know, it's completely up to you guys. But again, the goal is to try and light this, you know, with purpose, with as much purpose as we can. Then again, on the highlights here, I'm going to highlight, you know, some of this, maybe some of this, some of the hand here, 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 and wherever the lighting kind of glides. over on this side. I'm going to do exactly the same thing. We are going to light it. So I'm going to say perhaps some of the leg here is covered up in shadow. And here a little bit as well. Now, obviously, the entirety of the back of the cape is going to be in shadow. It's backlit, it's side lit. None of that light is coming from the front. So no aspect of the cape is going to be getting any light. If this is kind of curved here, you know, with the light source only coming from the right, we could have a little bit of this, like so. Lighten these from the side. And obviously we'd make our points a little bit finer as we proceeded on. How would this look on the head? So remember, light from this side and then light from the back, like so. So with the side light, we're going to see some nice highlights on here. Now, wherever possible, guys, you are welcome and encouraged to like accentuate the forms on here. So like the cheeks could be well lit. Chin from this side, you know, perhaps a part of the neck here, some of the brow, maybe that the hair that kind of sticks out like this, that's all for the side. On the other side, it's going to be much thinner, like a slither of light down the side, down the back, same on this part here and here, much finer. And again, with the shadows, so it's going to be dark here. Maybe the hair is dark on this side. This side of the eye could be dark. This side of the head could actually be dark. You darken this all up. Be all shadowed under here. And a little better lit there. Something like this. And obviously looking at that, as we go and add shadows, we want to add a few more to keep it consistent. Okay, so let's say that that's one layer of shadow or one layer of highlights. Actually, oh, there we go. Yeah, let's keep that, erase that. There you go. What we can do is we can simply add another layer. So let's call this character 1, highlight 2. And I'm going to pop this right here. Now, this is going to be exactly the same. So I'm going to paint on, you know, some white, some more intense areas of white. Metal is a fine spot for that kind of thing. Like so. And, you know, we'll add some base highlights to this here. And then we'll add a few additional shining points of light also. And we want to set, just like the soft light setting on highlight 1, we want to set layer 2 to soft light as well. And we can also do the same. We can adjust how bright it is. And that's going to give us, from viewing range, it's going to give us something. Obviously, we're doing this quick. We'd want to spend a little more time on it as our final piece. Add a few highlights to the body here, perhaps, this side here. Touch up on the wood. Maybe, down this side, if we like. And so on and so forth. Okay. Let's add another shadow layer in here. Character 1, shadow 2. Same thing again. We're going to paint it black. I'm going to set it to, maybe we leave this one at 100 and set it to soft light. And in we go to add deeper shadows, like so. Let's condemn these areas to darkness. There is no light getting here whatsoever. So we can deepen this up. If it goes too deep, we can obviously reduce the amount of shadow that we are getting here. And I think we are going to do that. I'm feeling like this is a little too deep. So I'm going to reduce the opacity of this down a touch more. So it seems to blend a little nicer. Now, you guys are more than welcome to do this as many times as you like. As long as we, at each step, bear in mind that we're working to accentuate aspects of the character. So I really want you guys to think of the 3D nature of what we're doing here. So if lighting is coming in from this direction, where is it going to land? Well, maybe it casts a shadow to this area. This area will be highlighted here, so that's going to have shadow on this side. Because of the direction of that, maybe the skirt he has on here, his combat skirt. Maybe that is casting a shadow, and it is, of course. It's definitely casting a shadow. With this done, we'll want to start thinking about how light is going to cascade around. So while, maybe this area here is not going to see any direct light, we can't have that in full darkness because it's so open beneath the cloak area. So those dark shadows are going to dissipate and disappear. around this whole area. So your shadows are going to get more contained to the nooks and crannies. Of your character's design. Please try and consider layers as well. So what is going to cast a shadow on what? Little shadows between the toes, little shadows under the toes. Up shadow back here, under that perhaps. Not many shadows up here except for dramatic effect, really. And so the coloring of this character is just an ongoing process of assessing the form for highlights. So let's say we want highlights here, but the backlighting we have, the highlights are not going to come in front of the cloak. And that may be helped, whoops, by us adding some shadow to the cloak here. And again, maybe it's going to fade out a little bit at the end, or maybe even a little more. Maybe it's fading out, you know, around here. Maybe we get a little shadow from the leg, perhaps, like so. Does anyone have any questions at the moment? Let me check the chat. Do we choose where the light starts? Yes, absolutely. So, like I said before, we want to choose lights that are going to enhance the chosen terms. Yeah. So this character, you know, lit from his right and from the back, brave and harmonious. I feel that that is an attempt to achieve that goal. But this guy, mysterious and greedy, well, the lighting is not going to be the same. Mysterious and greedy, you know, we want it to be kind of shadowy, but we also want it to be like a little ominous, I guess, with the greedy, mysterious combination. And there's a few ways
you can have the light come from the side or from underneath it.
There you go. Who said, was that Kylie?
Yeah.
Lovely, absolutely, Kylie. It's exactly what I was going to say. Let's have the light maybe coming. Let me use a different pencil so we can see it. Have the light coming up in this direction, maybe, or you know, in this direction, and that's going to give us some interesting stuff. So maybe from the back and from the lower side here. So, I mean, I recommend that you keep all of this contained and clear. So what we would actually do is we would create, when we get to this point, a character 2 shadow 1, character 2 highlight 1 setup. Because I'm just showing you guys how this is going to work. I'm not going to bother, but that's what I would like you guys to do. So I'm going to keep working on the character 1 stuff, but please separate it out. So for the highlights, if it's all coming from the bottom, then all the highlights are going to be on like the undersides of what we've got going on here, you know, the bottom of the cheeks, maybe, you know, bottom side of the lips here, maybe a little of the underside of this character. And this is another reason, you know, we might want to adjust these as separate ones, different characters. So he's lit from this end. So again, we'd want all low highlights here, maybe a few little highlights on the back if we're going to backlight this guy. But really not much is going to be needed, because it's mostly coming from, you know, this direction. So the lights are going to be all down here, getting the underside of this knuckle area. It's all going to be kind of well lit in probably this area, I would say. So we want highlights, you know, on all of these forward-facing parts. So let's assume that these are bumped out, these muscles, the muscles that they have on the armor, you know, from the ye olde years. So if they're bumped out, that means they're going to have shadows on the back because they're rounded. So our job is to create that sense of rounded depth just by using highlights and shadows. So I'm going to light from the bottom. I'm going to give it, you know, another layer of highlights, probably something like this for now, but it is shiny, so we can have a little bit more fun with that. But hopefully you can see, you know, we're starting to see layers of highlights appearing here, because it's that direction. All of the shadows, in one respect, similar. So back here is going to be completely dark. Back here is going to be dark, but it's dark from a different direction. So if these are bumped, we're going to be seeing darkness in these kinds of directions. Like so.
Is there a way to easily move the shadows like to the other one? So I did kind of creepy shadows on the nice one, and when I try and move it to the other one, it doesn't like stay properly.
Yeah, I'd really advise people not to copy any shadows at all, to be honest. And the reason for that is that these have to look different. That's the goal of the brief, that it's not only lit, but it's lit differently. And you've made decisions that are going to make these look cooler. That is going to really make this guy look, you know, ominous and mysterious and all of that good stuff.
that I did the shadows on the wrong one. But is there a way to select it and move it to the other character?
Absolutely. Use the lasso tool, the draw tool. So let's say we want to cut, I don't know, this layer of shadow of this guy here. We would draw around the area of shadow that we want to cut off, like, you know, this, edit, cut, go to the layer we want to put it on, and then edit, paste, and then move it where you want it to go. Or say we want to move it like here, like this. And then we would just merge it down to the layer below, like that, and then it's on the other layer. So you can cut it off and then add it, paste it back on, and then merge it down to the layer that you want it to be on. That would be my suggestion. Sorry, I didn't quite understand it at the start, but there we go. Hopefully that helps. Give that a bash and see how it looks. So on this guy, I'm even thinking that I might need more shadow area than I'd originally had for the other character. This guy is dark, he is mysterious.
A little bit of shadow.
We're going to need, we're going to need another layer of shadows here, possibly, to really show that up.
Do you think you would? Sorry, this is a question about specifically the shading. This is pertinent. Do you think you would shade the top of the armor? Not the top of the armor, the top of the abs on the armor, because they are rounded.
Oh yeah, I would, because they're rounded. So it's highlighted twice at the bottom on two different layers, And then again, I'm doing this very roughly, but it's shadowed twice as well above. So because they're rounded, you know, we want to create like a sense of roundness on them in any way we can. So that's a good question. And the answer is yes, we definitely want to do that. Okay, any other questions, guys? Fantastic. Well, I'm going to call this video there, and I'm going to pop this online so you guys can watch it whenever you like, revisit it in years to come and relive the fun that we had on this fateful day.
Would you rather have dragon-shaped rice or rice-shaped